Hey, so my name is Ashura Eden, and I am a spiritual integration mentor and business oracle and channel. And I recently signed up for this Fearless 30 channel, this Fearless 30-day video challenge. So here goes. Today I want to speak about my relationship with the divine feminine and truth as in the body and not the mind, and how this actually plays into more effective leadership across society, as well as usurping and dismantling toxic power structures, particularly power structures related to patriarchy. And that's a lot. That's a lot for one video, that's a lot for one day. But here we go. So I'm going to begin with a story, and the stories that I'm going to share right here and right now are actually about me and why so much of my own thought leadership, why so much of my own teachings have to do with spirituality and with embodiment, and how they play into leadership as opposed to other concepts. So I was raised Jewish, and when I was a child, I was taken to synagogue a lot. And I see some of you jumping on live, so feel free to say hi, share your comments. I might get to them in the replay. So I was raised Jewish, and as a child, I was taken to synagogue a lot. And in synagogue, we were taught about God, the Father, and because, it's Judaism, it was presented as Adonai. And on one hand, I had no problem with that. I was all on board with God. I could feel the presence of God even as a young child. But where I could tell that my Jewish roots, my Jewish upbringing was going off the rails or off track was in the lack of the exploration of God, the mother of the divine feminine. I figured I was really young. I was like 3 years old. I was in New York going to this Jewish synagogue right outside of New York City. And I realized, well, I have a father and a mother. So if I'm being raised in this religion, right? If I'm being raised in this religion, doesn't it make sense that this religion has a father and a mother too? That this religion has, mother, father, God, goddess, to mirror what's happening in nature, to mirror what's happening in biology, to mirror what's happening in my world. So I continued to go to the synagogue, and I was really young. I was like 3, and I could literally feel this other energy, this other frequency besides God, this divine feminine principle with me. And I didn't know what it was at the time. So, like any little kid, I kind of just let it go. So there's a lot of stories that tie into this. So many stories that I could go live for hours on this, which I don't want to do today. But what I will say is that this feminine frequency, this divine feminine energy came back to me in my adult life many, many, many times. One of them being when I was 27, 28 years old. I was in Maui, which is actually where I am now. And I was the client of a shamanic teacher. And she said to me, my birth name is Jessica. She said to me at the time, Jessica, you're a priestess, meaning that her, the shamanic teacher, saw, sensed, could feel my own connection with the divine feminine. And to give you guys a marker of time here, I'm 45 now. When I'm doing this live stream, it's 2023. I'm 45. This first meeting in my adult life with her was like in 2006. I was 27, 28, 29 years old. And at the time of this adult version of this encounter with the divine feminine, I looked at my spiritual teacher then and was like, really? Me? That? Me in communion with that energy, with that frequency? Because at that time, I was really raw, I was really traumatized, I was really shut down, and I knew myself as really, really small. So just take this in. Let's take a moment together. Take this in for yourself. Take a beat. Absorb this. And I'm going to ask you, the viewer, because if you're here for a reason. How has that energy of the divine feminine shown up for you? Why are you here? Why did this title grab you? What made you jump on today? I'm just going to ask you, what drew you to this? Has that energy shown up for you? And if so, how? And, if you're on the Facebook of this, you could put it in the comments. So there's a lot I could say about this, and I want to make sure to speak about how this plays out in leadership in the world, as well as a bit about truth in the body and our embodied truths of our lived history being connected to this divine feminine, and how that also plays out in leadership in the world. And I'm pausing because I don't have a script for this. I mean, I have like 3 lines of notes, right? I have like 3 lines of notes. So I'm like, what am I going to do with these 3 lines of notes? Okay, so I'm going to start to morph into the topic about the body and about leadership, and see if I can keep this live to about 15 minutes and bring all the threads together. So in our physical bodies, in our anatomy, and in our energy bodies, we have 3 primary currents. And one current is rising up, the other is rising down, the third is neutral. There's many more channels than that, but the 3 core energy channels are upward rising, downward rising, and neutral. And neutral is witness consciousness. We're not going to talk about that today. Very, very, very loosely speaking, and you guys, this is in your body. If you're here now, this pertains to your body. You have a current of, I'll use the yogic terms, prana, which is upwards rising energy, which roughly corresponds to the masculine, and apana, which is downwards going energy, which very, very, very roughly corresponds to the feminine. And this is loose. This is not exact. This is for the purposes of a short live stream. But you have that upwards flowing current of prana, the downwards of apana, the feminine current, and the third, which is the neutral or the witness. So take that in. So our society, and when you think about leadership in society, when you think about everything from how corporations are run to what you were taught in school about how to be, to even things like most business programs and courses, society is very, 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 very structured around this masculine concept. You know, in business courses and trainings, this shows up as do the mindset work. They're not saying do the body set work. They're saying do the mindset work. In corporations and leadership, this can be things like strategy. You know, what's our marketing strategy for this quarter? Or even leadership, leadership styles that are highly based on strategy. And in school, as children, we get it as like, think it through, not feel it through, think it through. So again, very loosely, our whole social structures, including those around business and leadership and who to be as a leader, are based on this upwards flowing current up out of the body, connecting to thought, connecting to executive functioning, connected to, mindset, connected to strategy, and as a religious whole and as a spiritual whole in the collective, connected to God the Father. Okay, now take that in, take a beat. I've just dropped a shit ton in the past 9 minutes. And if you have thoughts that are coming up as I'm streaming, absolutely pop them in below, because this does apply to you. This does apply to you if you are a leader, if you are a spiritual teacher, if you are a coach, if you are a psychotherapist, if you are in corporate and really care about your impact. This does apply to you, and we're getting there. So what's gotten erased, or maybe not erased, but underplayed, is this feminine principle. And I mentioned the energy currents before, and I'm going to share more personal stories because I want to tie this together with why this matters. And right now I'm the best example. I gave you the spiritual story, or I gave you a corner of the spiritual story, and I'll give you a corner of the body story about me and embodiment in a little bit. But what's going on with this embodiment piece and how this relates to the divine feminine is, remember that I mentioned before that the masculine current was upwards in general, Well, the divine feminine current is downwards, or rather, the feminine current goes downwards into the body. So, and this is energetics. We're not even up to goddess with this. This is just the energetics of the feminine is downwards into the body. So, what does that mean? That means getting out of your head and into the body. I'm going to say that again. That means getting out of your head and into your body. That also means getting into your feelings in your body, your emotions as they live in your body, not the head, or your body, not the mind. And the deeper truths of your lived experience as they live in your body, because every single thing that you've ever been through, good, bad, neutral, indifferent, you might remember it, you might not, but I can guarantee that whether or not you remember it, it is stored in your physical body. Okay? So take a moment and take that in. Now I'm going to share a bit of my story about embodiment in the body, because I think this is a good moment for it. And then we'll sort of tie into more of the divine feminine and leadership in the body. So for many years, I mentioned earlier that I'm 45. And I'm saying that because when this video comes out, it's like 2023, I'm 45 years old. I'll probably throw this on YouTube after I'm done on Facebook. And so there's the marker of time. For many years, I had terrible insomnia. And this was 2002 to 2012. And I didn't know why. I mean, to give you guys an image here, I was sleeping half the night. I was sleeping from, like 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'd go to bed at 9 or 10. I'd fall asleep at 3. I'd wake up again at 7. Now imagine how you would feel if you got 4 hours of sleep per night for a decade, right? It was like hell on earth. And yes, I overcame it. So I'm out of that chapter. I overcame that. But the point of the story was I tried all the logical and linear and rational things to fix it first. I tried talk therapy. I tried going to psychiatrists. I tried acupuncture. None of it got me there. None of it helped me figure out why I wasn't sleeping, why I was fucking miserable for a decade. And none of it broke me out. So eventually I put all that stuff down and started to go to mind-body psychotherapy, or somatic psychotherapy, which is all about finding the truth as it lives in the body, aka the feminine energetic current. And side note, if you guys want to find out more about these energy currents, you can Google yoga anatomy. And yeah, just Google yoga anatomy and you'll get some more on that. But I went to somatic psychotherapy, and through that process, I dove deeper into my own body and found the truth in my body that I was repressing and hiding from, which in my case was a childhood trauma story. I'm not going to get into what it was, but it was a really big childhood trauma story that had been repressed. And as I got into my body, I found the truth, I found the story, I unpacked the story, and my sleep came back. Okay, so take that in. So if you want a couple of questions for yourself, what truths live in your body? What are you hiding from in your own body? What are you running from? What are you diving into? What are you looking at? What are you not looking at? Okay, so let's bring this back around to societal and leadership and impact and the feminine. So the divine feminine doesn't just ascend the way some love and light teachings teach. She descends. She descends into the truth of the body. She descends into the truth of lived experience. She descends into these primal, raw, and embodied truths. And I will say that the truth I found in my journey had everything to do with confronting violence from the patriarchy. I'll leave it at that. But the truth that I found in my journey had everything to do with confronting violence from the patriarchy and healing it. And the structures of mainstream society, of business, of leadership, both focus on God the Father and the mind over the body. And it's this feminine principle of descent that actually brings you into deeper truth. And I'm going to say that again in a more clear way. It's this feminine principle of descent, including descent into the truth in your body, that actually brings you into more truth and more clarity, but also to lead others in a more clear way. So take that in. So I'm going to invite you into a really short experience here so you can see this, feel this, know this for yourself in real time. I invite you to think about an issue that you're currently facing, either in your own business if you're an entrepreneur, or in corporate if you're in corporate. Just call up one issue and don't pick an issue that's like, how can I fix my marketing? Although you could maybe, but call up one issue that you're facing in business or in corporate right now. And then instead of trying to figure it out with your mind, take a couple of breaths. And drop into your body. And if you don't know how to do that, begin by deepening your breath. And then literally feel for pulling your consciousness and your awareness down into your body. And ask your body what a solution might be. And if you get anything really good, type it here on the live or in the comments on the replay. So that's most of what I wanted to cover today. I will do a quick mention because this feels peripheral and not core. But the other aspect of all of this, everything we've covered so far, from the divine feminine, my childhood, embodiment, truth in the body, embodiment in leadership, everything we've covered in these 18 minutes, is that one of the shadow toxic forces in society is still patriarchy, aka the toxic masculine. I'm not going to unpack that too much, but it's obviously still here. It's still there, 2023. That's still going on. That's still happening. And when you begin to embrace these elements, these energetics, these concepts as real, powerful, beautiful, sacred, and totally valid, all of that begins to get dismantled. Okay, wrapping up for today. Sending you a lot of love. Aloha from Hawaii.